Well. Here we go again. Hello then, my fellow sorcerers, and welcome to not just the leveling build of choice for us in Season 7, but hey, back to Diablo 4. It feels like it's been a bit, and I, for one, am very excited to get stuck back in, because I have missed, well, all the Sorcerer goodness. It's obviously been a roller coaster since the launch. We've had ups, we've had downs, but Season 7 is looking like a solid up. That said, I don't expect us to be like tippity top unless something new is discovered or some unknown bug has been found, but I do expect us to have a really fun season. I don't want this to get too bogged down in my current thoughts on the class as a whole, because, you know, it's a leveling build guide, but we do have a lot of exciting things in store. Shock builds look like they're going to be phenomenal, especially with Ball Lightning. Obviously, we played and tested on the PTR. There's been even more updates based on that. The patch notes are, for the most part, looking quite juicy, and indeed, fire builds are going to be really happy too. There's even a couple of ultimate builds that I'm really excited to push and share. That's an entirely new style of sorcererness, which really is incredibly hype. We've gotten some much needed buffs, and it's the first season that we're properly free of burning, of conjuration mastery, of having, well, similar skills on the bars of every build. I think this is the most fresh Sorcerer is going to feel in a long time, and I, for one, am getting ready to get stuck into it with an old bunch of Witch Doctor powers slapped on, because, hey, why the hell not? So, without further ado, as you've already been seeing, yes, Incinerate is still the way to go. And while this isn't a guide to it, Chain Lightning has actually got a lot better and is probably the second best leveling build, just because the aspect got buffed to 2.5 mana per bounce if you get the base version from the dungeon. So if you want to go into that direction, you can, but it's just nowhere near as strong, easy, and out-the-box powerful all the way to Torment 1 as Incinerate. And not even Torment 1. With the buffs that happened towards the end of Season 6, well, Incinerate already suddenly shot up to a Torment 4 capable high A, low S tier build. I mean, look how fast it melted through Torment bosses. So, technically speaking, you could just roll Incinerate and then stay Incinerate all the way into Deep Torment 4 and just casually crush Endgame. It's not going to be our best build, of course not, but it is really phenomenal in that sense that you can just play it for as long as you need to and not feel weak. It doesn't matter if you get unlucky whenever you get your first new Ball Lightning unique focuses or your Fireball setup and so on and so forth, because you're still going to be comfortably potent on Incinerate. And past the huge combustion chains that we've already played around with, getting things like your Inferno, making everything vulnerable and making you do 50% more damage makes it incredibly viable to level with, on top of having a fairly low cooldown even without cooldown reduction gear, which is great again for leveling. And then even the post-PTR changes making Frost Nova into an actually exceptional skill now and very much worth using. Being able to again get more vulnerable support but also a damage increase for pressing it is really nice. Lightning Spear is gone off the bar because we no longer need it. We don't really care as much at all about your Conjuration Mastery stacks. We don't need the extra vulnerable help. So everything essentially has just gotten a lot more powerful and a lot more comfortable. Incinerate's been the best Sorcerer leveling build for 2 seasons now, and it's never been stronger, so really, the way forward is clear. It sets us up to get to 60 and into Torment 1 as fast and as easily as it is possible to do so, and worse comes to worse, it can even take you to Torment 4 if it needs to, as we discussed. You can't really get better. So with that said then, then, let's go over how it's shaping up in Season 7, and hell, even on the aspect side of things, it's not like you need to go out your way to get anything specific. Obviously, Flamethrower is going to be a big deal, but even just out the box, it's strong, mana efficient. Once you get past like level 10, you're not going to be running out, and you can just immediately do your pit 20 and start getting into the proper endgame without making any kind of proper headways into farming better gear, just what you happen to have when you get there, which is one of the most important things. So let's begin. The very first skill tree guide of the season. Honestly, I really am so excited to get into all this once more for you guys. It always means a lot how much you enjoy my Sorcerer builds, and oh, we're gonna have a lot of fun. Seriously, there's so many cool builds that we can do now. Anyway, leveling then. Now, do note, and this is important, that I am currently doing this in the current live version of the game, so some of these won't be updated to how they will be in Season 7, because the patch hasn't applied yet, because Season 7 isn't live yet. So, for example, Permafrost still says Frost skills, whereas in Season 7, it's going to just increase all your damage. So we will be taking Permafrost here, and that's why, because I'm allowing for it, you know, changing and being buffed, so don't get confused on that point if you see me take it and you're like, what? But Incinerate's a fire skill, and so on and so forth, because everything is going to change a little bit. Anything of major note, I will try and point out as we do take it. The initial 12 points that you will start the season with then, you want to spend thusly. Get into your Incinerate, and then you want your Destructive in order to give yourself an instant bit of tankiness, and then we're just going to improve our rank of Incinerate in order to get to our defensives. Then we are going to grab our teleport alongside the movement speed and damage reduction, and then we're going to grab our Frost Nova, and then down to enhanced Frost Nova. Here, you either want to take Mystical if your mana is fine and you just want the extra damage, or you're going to take Shimmering if you need a little bit help with your mana. These are two nodes that are getting majorly buffed. Mystical will make you do more damage, and Shimmering will be a much better source of replenishing mana. I will default to damage for now. Then we're going to come over here and grab your Ice Blades along to Enhanced and then Summoned, just to get a bit of cooldown reduction help, especially while leveling. And then we will also grab our Familiar, Enhanced Familiar, and Invoked Familiar, so we do 10% more fire damage while we keep a Fire Familiar rotating. Then we have to go back and spend some more points in order to get to our ultimates, as we don't need to take Inner Flames yet, as it's a little bit of a luxury. The best thing to do is fill out your Incinerate for the extra damage that provides, and then grab yourself Glass Cannon for, again, the extra damage that provides, as it's just nice and free. At this point, we will be at our ultimates, where we can now grab Inferno, then Prime Inferno, and then Supreme Inferno. We do want to be getting to rank 5, but we don't need to be doing it yet. Now that we are at this stage, we do want to grab Fireball and then make it our first enchantment slot, as it is a phenomenal tool for leveling, honestly one of the best in the game. Now we can head all the way back down here and start filling out points in Inferno in order to start working towards Combustion. Once you have done that, we can go into Endless Pyre and then actually get said Combustion. At this point, we are just filling out damage increasing passives across the tree in the order that you most prefer. However, this is the order that I would at least suggest it in, getting Evocation first to speed everything up and have the build playing a little bit faster while leveling before you can get some proper meaningful cooldown reduction gear. And God, I love how much damage Combustion adds. It really is ridiculous. Obviously, I've got a little bit more than you will have while leveling here, because I'm just using my normal character to show the build off, but it is going to start scaling very, very nicely for you, especially when you put in your first glyphs when you first get to level 60. If you feel yourself running out of mana at all, you can get Fiery Surge, but first of all, you want to max out Endless Pyre. Then either if you need help with mana, do Fiery Surge, or if you would prefer some warmth to keep yourself alive, which is what I would recommend, take that, and then finally fill out your Soulfire. At this point, we can get our second enchantment slot, and the easy one to recommend is Incinerate itself. It's permanently up, it's a second beam of Incinerate, it's pretty damn effective, and something I really enjoy using. You can, however, just go with Teleport to speed up your literal speed through the world and level faster, and you can go Ice Blades for more cooldown reduction with more blades out, and more stacks of Conjuration Mastery. Because although, yes, Conjuration Mastery no longer increases your damage, it's just Conjuration damage, it still does the movement speed and mana regen, which is actually very useful while leveling, which is why we still get it for when Ice Blades and Familiar is out, and at least one of them will be out all of the time, so it does help us out. Then we will finally get Inner Flames, we will head back up and fill out Elemental Dominance 2, we want to get Potent Warding, because having a little bit of extra resistance help, especially once you actually start breaking into your endgame, is going to come in really handy. We want to grab ourselves your usual Mana Shield, we want the usual protection to keep our barriers rotating, and now we can come over here and grab yourself Permafrost and Icy Touch to increase our damage as much as possible. They have become two very, very good passives. Now, these last 3 points, you can essentially spend them anywhere you would like to, but an easy final damage bump is to simply get your elemental synergies for the little help it will provide. And that is how it shapes up, and it shapes up very, very nicely. The most notable big deals on here is our Inferno helping us with Vulnerable, giving us 50% more damage while it's up. It is Permafrost, giving us a load more just permanent damage for having at least one frost skill on our bars. We've got a buffed Inner Flames coming into play, and we have Frost Nova better than ever, and is worth using, especially while leveling over Ice Armor when we don't really need to help with survivability anyway. So I am pretty pleased with this skill tree, and that is that. When it comes to playing it then, I mean, it's Incinerate, we know how Incinerate at this point, you just hold your Incinerate. That said, we want to make sure we keep a Fire Familiar out, and don't overdo them, we don't need to spam them, especially with Conjuration Mastery not giving global damage, we just kind of want to keep one permanently in the air to increase our output. Use Frost Nova on cooldown against elites and bosses, use your Inferno on cooldown against elites and bosses, and then just generally use Ice Blade on cooldown, and then teleport to move fast to get through world quickly, and therefore level as fast as possible. You want to not break your Incinerate channel unless you really, really have to, as everything that you cast will just slightly blip you out of channeling, so you can just full cast everything once, and then just channel until the thing is dead. Most of the time, that is better than consistently interrupting yourself to do something, but of course, your mileage may vary, you can't go too far wrong. I mean, it's leveling, right? You're going to be completely fine. Gear-wise then, I have just your basic set of leveling aspects on, nothing too crazy to make this as simple as possible. And in order to make this as simple as possible, your boots, your legs, your chest, and your helmet, they just don't matter. They matter in the sense that if you can have something useful on them, you should, but you don't need to go out your way to farm any particular aspect, nor waste your resources continually imprinting a particular aspect, so you are all good on that front out the gate. You put whatever you have that's best, something to help armor, something to help general damage reduction. Orange Herald or anything that can help with your ultimate cooldown is really nice. Something like Wild Bolt or anything movement speed related to just kill things faster or move faster is nice. But none of these are mandatory, and you can treat them as, well, that while leveling. What is, however, very much mandatory Offensively, though, well, that's another story, of course. The single most important aspect to the build is flamethrowers, and you want it very specifically on a staff. This is the most, I guess, irritating part of this, because finding your flamethrowers is a big deal when you first do. It's a notable damage increase, and that's underselling it, but it's still plenty potent until that point. Though, as a little tip, you no longer need to do Legacy of the Magi to unlock unlock your enchantment slots. You've already done it before on another character, but I'd still recommend giving it a go because you can get a pyromancy cache, which will give you some guaranteed legendary aspects for fire, most of which are burning related, and it might be a nice easy shortcut to getting it at level 15. However, yes, flamethrowers on the staff that you currently have that's best at all times is your #1 priority here aspect-wise. Following that, on your amulet you want overheating. This is just really, really nice. It's just a big, permanent buff to Incinerate that will keep refreshing and maintaining itself, and it's very, very potent. You can just imprint this on your first amulet once you get it, and then essentially leave that all the way to Endgame and Torment. The next tier along is your aspect of Conflagration to just increase your Incinerate damage and get our lovely AoE explosions going for better clear, and then lastly you want your Engulfing Flames just to keep ramping your burning damage even more. If you have these 4 aspects on through your entire leveling journey, well then you're going to have a very, very good time. And Conflagration is the one that you can get from the dungeon straight into your codex, so you can grab this whenever you want to. The next one on your gloves that's not like required, and you're probably better to just keep upgrading gloves with better affixes and stats as you go along, but you can leave it as this, is Firestarter. I really like this. While leveling, you will start incinerating someone, this will pop and do like half their health in damage, and it really speeds things up. You can, however, just put something like Conceited on if you want just a steadier damage increase, and that's fine too. So that's your aspects while leveling. When it comes to your actual affixes on your gear, I mean, again, you're leveling. You just gotta take what you can get. Anything that increases your damage out, like damage over time, is really nice. Intelligence, health, always going to be comfy, easy takes, but more than anything, you're just gonna be wearing the best you can, so you don't want to be aiming for any particular affixes, as raw gear level is the best that you can have while you're getting to 60. Then, for your gems, you want yourself damage over time in your weapon. You will want the new occult gems in your jewelry once you start getting them, but other than that, armor, and then intelligence in your armor. And, of course, your runes, too. Again, when it comes to runes, you'll just be putting in what you have found that's the best you kind of happen to have, but if you want an ideal, something like the Vortex rune with a Lith Cry is really, really good, and the usual Barbarian Warcry powered by Yule with a Yule Ohm is going to do you very well, but of course getting this stuff while leveling just kind of isn't going to happen, so just put in whatever you have, whatever you think's best, and you will do fine. Other than that, just make sure as you go through the tiers that you have the appropriate amount of armor and elemental resist to keep you happy and healthy throughout the world tiers, and then you won't feel too squishy. When it comes to the witch powers and the occult gems, then, while I'll recommend a basic solid combo to aim for while leveling that's doable, for the most part I just want to say this: they're a lot of fun. Like, at least in my opinion, this is the best set of seasonal powers, at least from a stylistic point of view, since the blood powers. And I don't want to kind of restrict you too much while leveling, because they're all going to help you, really, and you don't need to super min-max while leveling in terms of eking out every perfect meta-y power combination. And you won't have them all anyway, because you'll be leveling. So, just have fun with it, experiment, do your frog friend following you, or your flame bats, you know, just kind of go crazy with it, slot in what you like the look of, same with the occult gems, and you will have a good time. While leveling's the only true time you can just kind of randomly do stuff and enjoy it, because once we get into the endgame builds, which we'll do very soon into the season, you're just going to be using the best combination for everything, and that's going to start feeling samey. Now, they were all a little bit weak on the PTR, they've been buffed, thankfully, but we still need to see how that actually plays out. In any case, if you are wanting to aim for something specifically useful, then the easiest one to go for is Vulture Talon. It will speed up the rate at which you deal damage over time, and again, this one has been buffed, and it quite literally just speeds up the build in a big, meaningful way. So slot this in once you've unlocked it with your first head, and then whack on any given aura witch powers you found, and you will be golden. For what it's worth, tempering wise, you kind of don't want to while leveling. It's sort of a waste of resources, though that said, if you find a particular particularly good stuff for a while. Putting Incinerate deals double damage, or doing just generic damage like fire damage is completely fine. Getting some health and such on your gear is fine, but more than anything, it's just not necessary. It's overkill. You'll be shredding things, and you don't want to kind of waste your time and resources on it until you actually start getting into torment, start getting to level 60, and start thinking about your actual build that you're going to start refining as we push into, well, all of the goodness there. And of course, I'll be with you days into the season with the best initial build for you to properly do all this on, and it ain't this one. Then, the same for Masterworking. Don't Masterwork anything while leveling. Again, it's not worth the resources unless you randomly have loads and just do it for the fun, but it's certainly not needed nor recommended. Mercenary-wise, Subo is your ideal main partner here, primarily for Scorched Earth here. You'll get it pretty quickly, and it'll just give you more burning damage periodically as he throws it out, and also his passives are really useful, especially while leveling, so I would definitely recommend him eventually taking this tree. And then your best secondary is going to be your here as your reinforcement, so you can have Bastion for the extra survivability it will bring periodically. And just to touch on Paragon, because obviously when it comes time to Paragon, you'll be kind of done leveling, but to start your Incinerate while you farm the next build journey, you'll want to be looking something like this. Getting your Elementalist, then start stacking that all resist, getting to the glyph slot where you'll be placing just the best glyph that you have, and then also getting Elemental Balance before going up through Studied into the next board, which yes, will still be your fundamental release board. That said, our Paragon's going to be changing a lot this season. We have a lot of exciting new options, a lot of powerful new buffed legendary nodes, and it's one of the most exciting Sorcerer things going, and I'm very much looking forward to it. The ideal glyph you want is Torch, so we can really amp up our combustion as much as we can. Currently, I am at 265. If I take Torch out and have another little look, we drop to 100. So that's kind of your goal if you want the best glyph straight away. Alright then, ladies and gentlemen, that is that. Your new, upgraded, better Incinerate to start you off right in Season 7. I hope you have enjoyed this, and I hope you will enjoy this, and I can't wait to see you with the first proper build post-season launch. Ball Lightning's going to be phenomenal, but so is a lot of other things too. For now then, like you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.